All right, welcome to Veterans Claims Made Easy first webinar, a guide for veterans. This one's going to be on understanding VA disability benefits and what every veteran should know. So the purpose is to help veterans understand who qualifies for VA disability benefits, how the VA rates disabilities, and what benefits they can receive. So this is just the first in a series, so welcome. So understanding VA benefits. The webinar is going to go over who qualifies for VA disability benefits, how the VA rates disabilities, and how to get started with your claim. This is a picture of myself, obviously. I retired from the Marine Corps in 2009. I'm 100% PMT, permanently and totally disabled, rating from the VA. I wrote the book, How to Write Your Own Successful VA Claim for Service-Connected Disability Compensation, to kind of like highlight my journey through the VA process, the challenges, and how to help veterans, how to make it easier for veterans to file their own claims. Because you don't need a VSO, an accredited agent, or a disability lawyer to do so. So my backstory, as I said, 1989 to 2009, I was in the Marine Corps active duty, retired as a gunnery sergeant. After I retired, I went to the VA. I was suggested by the TAP or TAM class, I forget which one it was that I went to. I was rated initially at 30%. That's just going through my VA through my medical records, service records. Then I find out that if you're retired, you do not get concurrent receipt like most federal employees. So I was not getting the 30% disability payment for compensation and my retirement. Basically what was happening is 30% of my retirement pay was made tax-free, but there was no concurrent receipt. There was no additional compensation. So that kind of ticked me off. I found a veteran advocate at the college I was going to get my degree, and he did the paperwork and helped me get to 50%, at which point I was happy. I was fine. I was getting compensation and getting my retirement. Fast forward 7 years, get back in touch with a buddy of mine, and he convinces me, he doesn't convince me of anything other than to relook at my disabilities, because he shared with me his story and his journey with the VA. It sounded a lot like mine. So what I did was I have submitted for upgrades to my VA disability ratings. Didn't submit any new paperwork. Submitted all the same information. Did supplemental claims. Did secondary claims to my initial claims. Roughly 24 months later, I went from 50% to 100% permanent total. So I did this all on my own with some help and guidance from my buddy, who was a retired major in the Marine Corps. And after that, I basically took it on myself and just did everything on my own. CMP exams. I wrote my own Nexus letter, had my primary care from the VA sign it, and that helped. And that fixed everything up. So I'm now 100% permanent total. So why does this matter? Why does this webinar matter? It matters because many veterans miss out on benefits simply because they don't know what they qualify for. So an interesting stat is only about 30% of eligible veterans apply for VA disability benefits. This stat, while accurate, is also a little misleading because it says of eligible veterans. Every veteran is qualified to apply for VA disability benefits. Okay? Yes, there are slight stipulations, there's slight changes to who can. Typically, veterans with dishonorable discharges will not. Bad conduct discharges, most of the time will not. But every situation is different, and you should still file your claim. So stay to the end. We'll go over the key takeaways, and I've got some additional resources, free resources for you guys if you want them, right? So who qualifies for VA disability benefits? Seems pretty simple. Veterans, as I mentioned, right? But there are specific basic eligibility requirements. You must be a veteran with an honorable or general discharge. As I mentioned, if you have a BCD, a bad conduct discharge, dishonorable discharge, you can submit your claim and the VA will take that on a case-by-case basis. Doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get qualified. It just means that you can apply. It doesn't hurt because you might just be able to get your benefits anyway. The disability that you're applying for, the disability you're applying for compensation for, must be service-connected. So what that means, it has to have been caused during your service or worsened by your military service. And we'll go over this a little bit more. What counts as a service-connected disability? Direct injuries, illnesses, e.g. created or caused by combat injuries, PTSD, TBI, presumptive conditions, Agent Orange exposure, Gulf War syndrome, which didn't used to be a thing, but it is. Presumptive conditions. The PACT Act of 2022 made a lot of conditions presumptive, meaning that if you were in that area and you came down with the symptoms and diagnosed, awarded is such a bad word, but you're going to be rated at a minimum of 10% for that disability. Your evidence and the severity of the disability will determine the actual final rating. Secondary conditions: arthritis caused by a service-related knee injury. Also, so say for instance, another secondary condition would be sciatic nerve damage from a lumbar degenerative disc disease disability. Oftentimes you'll hear some veterans say that money, so to speak, the higher disability ratings are in the secondary conditions. So what are some common misconceptions about eligibility? You need to be in combat. You need to be a combat veteran to qualify. That is not true. You don't need to be a combat veteran to qualify. You don't deserve or qualify for VA disability benefits if the diagnosis is not made till after you're out of the military. That's not true. Even if your condition appeared after service, you may still qualify. A lot of veterans are not diagnosed with PTSD, TBIs, or anything like that until after they leave service. A lot of the presumptive conditions are not diagnosed until after service. And then the next one, you can apply even if you are already working. So what that means, that basically addresses the myth that you can't apply if you're working. The VA provides different levels of compensation, not only on a percentage basis, but also on whether you're able to work or whether you are not able to work. So you can apply even if you are already working. Disability doesn't mean you're sitting in a chair and can't do anything. Unfortunately, some of our veterans, some of our brothers and sisters cannot work, but you can work and still draw VA disability compensation. VA rate disabilities. The VA disability rating system is jacked. That's not on the slide, but it's just the way it is. And if you have any experience with the VA, you know this to be true. VA assigns a percentage of 0 to 100% based on severity. 0 is a rating. If you get a 0 rating, it basically means that the VA identifies that disability as service connected, and it does not impede your day-to-day life right now, but it will more than likely do so in the future. And as you get older and as a disability gets more severe, you can apply for an increase in the rating. The higher rating, the more compensation received. That's just common sense. Ratings can be combined if you have multiple conditions. Ratings have to be combined if you have multiple conditions. VA math is horrible. My total disability ratings across all my disabilities is about 240%. VA math puts me at 97%. Yeah, we'll go over that in another video, in another webinar. Compensation rates and additional benefits. Higher ratings provide more compensation and healthcare benefits, obviously. At 50%, you are placed in the priority 1 group and receive no cost healthcare for all medical conditions, not just service-connected disabilities. There are some health conditions, some healthcare that you're not provided, anything less than 100%, but I'll address that one. The next one if you've already read ahead. But basically, you can just go to the VA for any medical condition after you're in 50%. You do not need private medical insurance anymore. At 100%, you receive entirely free, comprehensive VA healthcare, including primary care, preventative care, emergency care, specialty care, mental health services, dental care, vision care, medical equipment, prosthesis, and travel allowances for scheduled VA appointments. Dental care and vision care are 2 of the biggest ones. You do not get that at any other disability rating, if I'm not mistaken, but I can clarify that. But I'm pretty sure that's correct. Yeah, so big difference. Here are the 2025 VA disability pay rates. My apologies, the slide cut off the percentages, but it starts at 10 and goes in increments of 10. So 10, 20, 30, 40, 56, and so on. And this is for a single veteran only. Compensation rates to go up because the VA does provide compensation if you have a spouse, and does provide compensation for each additional dependent. As your dependents reach certain ages, they do drop off and your compensation will be reduced. Keep that in mind. So how to get started with a claim. Seems real simple, but a lot of veterans miss it. Basically, you gather your medical records and your service records. Yes, the VA can get these, but why would you leave it up to the VA? Don't leave anything to the VA or anybody else. Get your medical records, get your service records, get your DD-214, make copies, and make sure you have them ready. Make copies for each individual claim you you file. And yes, you will file claims individually. You do not combine claims. Consider getting an excess letter from a doctor. Now, a nexus letter is usually required to prove that the disability was caused by an injury or an incident while you're on active duty. Nexus letters are not hard. There's a misunderstanding that I believe it's a misunderstanding that you have to find specific doctors to file nexus to write nexus letters. You don't. As I mentioned in the beginning of this webinar, I wrote a nexus letter for my VA doctor to sign, and I simply wrote it with what I was going through, a certain format, and I'll give you that format. But you write it out, you change certain elements in it to meet your specific situation, your specific disability, the incident specifics that caused the injury. Then you simply take it to your doctor and say, listen, doc, if you agree with what is written here, can you sign this because I need this to help me get VA disability? The doctor's simply going to say yes or no, or they will rewrite it on their own letterhead, which might be what you want them to do anyway. If they agree, they'll sign, date, put their credentials, and there you've now got an nexus letter. All right. The last thing is, how do you submit your VA claim? You can go to va.gov and submit it online. You can do it by mail by reading the address on the back of the claim form if you do it manually. Most counties in the United States have a veterans advocate paid for by the county. They can do it for you. You can go to the regional VA office. They'll do it. You can submit that in person. Or you could go to the American Legion or whatever. They can submit it for you. Veteran Legion, VFW, Disabled American Veterans, and so on. A lot of veteran services organizations provide this free. Okay. So timeline and what to expect. Usually claims take about 3 to 6 months, which is a lot better than it used to be. Some claims may require a compensation and pension exam, C&P exam as it's more commonly referred to. And if you're denied, which 85% was the last stat that I got, 85% of claims are denied outright or at the first submission. So appeals are possible. And you don't need a lawyer to file an appeal. Okay. So VA disability benefits are not automatic. You have to apply. If you don't apply, you won't get compensated. And help is available. You don't have to do this alone. This is just the first webinar on different portions of the VA disability claims process. So come back for our next webinars, right? So if you want more help, join the next webinar where we look at determining eligibility for VA disability benefits in detail. As I mentioned, this is the first in a series to help our veterans, help our brothers and sisters understand the process of filing a VA disability claim. Just take action. That's the biggest thing, the most important thing for you to do. First one, you can always reach out, leave comments, complaints. I'm sure some of y'all will have complaints about the webinar. That's fine. But I'm going to use the comments and suggestions to improve the following webinars that we post. So be constructive, please. That's all I ask. All right. I hope this was helpful. And again, if not, leave some comments. Let me know how we can improve these to help you guys out better. All right. Until the next one, God bless.